Welcome to another 4x4 Ventures episode. We're still at Mogatli. It is a rather large area, so we haven't been able to fully grasp everything that it has to offer. In this episode, we want to talk to you about the 2.2 XL Ford Ranger and what mods we've done since episode 1. There has been some progression and new things that we have had added to the vehicle just to make it more capable off-road. We'd like to show you what's worked for me, whether it's 4x4 on, off, diff lock on or off, when to use these, how to approach an obstacle, lines, and all of the stuff that seems to make sense when you're out there on the road, and it'll give you that little bit more understanding of what your 2.2 4x4 Ranger XL is capable of. So stay tuned and let's go have some fun. Alright, so to start off with, one of the things that I've learned is just how capable the 2.2 XL Ford Ranger is. But what did take some time for me to get used to is looking at an obstacle and realizing what I need to access and when I need to access it. So I'll just go through some of the things that I've figured out doing. Now, when I drive a long straight dirt road that has corrugation to it, I put the vehicle on the fly. So whilst on the move, you have the option of putting the vehicle from 2 high to 4 high. You can be driving up to a speed of 100 kilometers an hour to switch that on the fly. So basically while you're driving. You've got to remember that when you get back on the tar road, before you get back onto a tar road, you must switch this dial back to 2 high, because driving at 4 high on the tar road is not an ideal situation at high speeds. The next and biggest thing that changes when you are going full off-road and you do come across a big obstacle is accessing the vehicle into 4-low. Now what you do is you put the vehicle into neutral, so clutch in, you put it into neutral, and while you still have your foot and clutch in, you put on the 4-low. What will end up happening is a dial will show on your dash that says 4-low has been activated, and it automatically disengages traction control. Not fully, but enough to get full capability out of 4-low. At that point, you can put the vehicle into gear first, second, and third, and what happens is your ratios are a lot lower, so your torque curve is really far down and you have a lot of revs and a lot of grunt, where the vehicle can basically use all 4 wheels and tires to get you in and out of obstacles with that much more ease. Now the big thing, rear diff lock. Now I access the rear diff lock, and I'll show you out on the track. I access the rear diff lock when going over what's called axle twisters. So basically one of your back tires leaves the ground. I think the rear diff lock is better to show you how that works and when to apply it. And again, this you can push whilst on the drive or standing still. I tend to put into 4-low and then access the rear diff. You can also access rear diff in 4 high. And yeah, traction control. Now, there's been a little bit about it on the 4x4community.co.za. You can disengage traction control. There's 2 settings. The one is a partial disengage of traction control. You basically just click it once and your traction control is partially disengaged. I don't know the ratios, but I'm thinking it's about a 50% disengagement, so that the Ford still has some safety features available to it. If you run into any trouble on a gravel road or anything, it'll do what it needs to do to basically steer you out of trouble to some degree. And then to access it basically for an 80%, an 80 to a 90% total disengagement is you hold on it for 10 seconds, and what will end up happening is on your dash it'll flash. The vehicle still retains as much as it needs to, or as much traction control as it needs to, just to prevent any loss of control from the driver's end. Downhill assist, now I have firstly got to say that this vehicle and the Ford Ranger range in downhill assist is fantastic. Basically the vehicle controls braking to all 4 tires when either one of them or the other starts to slip. It realizes that one tire is moving faster than the other 3 and applies brakes to that accordingly, so that it's got an even distribution of braking and alignment of weight with the vehicle. It is absolutely fantastic, and I recommend that if you are doing extreme obstacles and you are going downhill, you must access downhill assist. It just works, and it works very well. I will advise, though, a cautionary measure. You must make sure that your downhill assist is activated, and if you're unsure whilst going downhill, just tap your brakes and you'll begin to hear a sound of the hydraulics working to clamp the brakes as you're going. You'll hear it. It's a very gritty, grindy sound, and that's normal. At Koerse Klim it worked 100%, and it brought me down the obstacle very nicely. We're heading out to the track now. I just thought I'd give you a run through of it, because when I first got into my Ford Ranger, and even after doing the entry-level 4x4 day out, where they showed what these things do, I never fully understood it until I started using them. So let's head on out to the track and we'll see them in action and how each one works. We've just come up to an obstacle now, and it's a great case study, because what's happened is, on the one hand side of the back end of the vehicle, one tire or suspension rod is bottomed out all the way, and the other suspension rod is fully extended. And without diff lock on, you're going to see what's going to happen. So it's a great practical showcase on when you need to access rear diff lock. So I'm just going to jump in the vehicle, start it up, and you'll see it without the diff lock on and then with the diff lock off. Okay, so at the moment I'm in 4 low and I have no diff lock activated. I'm going to put the vehicle into first gear, and you'll see that the back tire on your screen should spin. See, so there's no traction, and the other wheel is not moving at all, should be bottomed out. So now that we've seen the vehicle with diff lock off, what I want to do is put the vehicle's diff lock on. It should work to get us through this. And there you have it. So we've just come to a granite outcrop, and it's an amazing view. We've got full 360 around, and nothing too hectic, but it is an obstacle in itself. But more importantly than that, I just want to run through what's happened with the Ford Ranger since episode 1. So in episode 1, I had the 270 75s, 16-inch tires, BF Goodrich all-terrain. So the first thing I did when I got my Ford Ranger is I upgraded my tires. Subsequent to the first episode, I now have fitted the all-terrain BF Goodrich 285 75 16s. Now, they are a much bigger tire. Since I'm fitting them, I've noticed about a 10% power decrease, because it's a much bigger radius for the vehicle to drive. I also then went with the Old Man Emu 2-inch suspension upgrade, replaced the standard shocks and did a full suspension upgrade. This has made the vehicle somewhat softer but more forgiving when you're going over terrain like this. So it also extends the full extension on a downward when you're going over an obstacle. So I've got more travel on the suspension, which you need because sometimes you need to get that traction, and the longer the suspension can travel downwards, the more likelihood it is to grip. I obviously got the Raptor kit, they call it. So wheel arches, which has already saved me yesterday's when I went through one of the obstacles, had a bit of a mishap, and it's already saved the body. So they work and they're easy to replace and not as expensive as replacing a side panel. I got graphics done by Ink Monkey, a great bunch of guys. Look them up if you're interested in getting graphics. If we move along, I got the box rock sliders from Ace over at Stoffpad 4x4. They're 6mm steel plating and with the aluminium top grip cover. It's got high lift points 1 and 2, and these have also already saved the bottom end of the vehicle. So this would be a definite investment over the standard side skirts that you get with the Ranger. I just want to show you something a little bit at the back here, which is quite, which I find is the only downfall to the Ford Ranger range. Now this whole back piece, including the tow bar hitch, is a real letdown when doing obstacles. What this actually does, whilst it's great for towing capabilities, which I will use in the future, it's so far low that it decreases your departure angle. So if you see me pulling funny faces when going obstacles, it's because this whole device catches on rocks and just, you know, dips. When you're exiting a dip, your rear end comes out and catches the bottom. So all the grinding and funny faces you see being pulled when doing all these obstacles is because this thing catches on and makes a really horrible noise. So the front end of the vehicle, not much really has happened. What I've done is, and I'm quite proud of it, is I've blacked out the Ford logo, which is just a personal preference type treat thing. Just goes with the whole look of black and white theme that I'm trying to run. Top bonnet scoop, let's call it that. It serves no practical purpose, it's just a looks thing. The nose deflector I got from a Mighty Thor, and that's obviously just to prevent any stones or chips in the front end of the vehicle, which you sometimes get on road, on dirt road and on tar road. I have a 22-inch LED floodlight in the front. Now this is illegal. Subsequent to fitting this, I found out it is an illegal thing to have in South Africa. You cannot have a light in the center line of your vehicle. So I'll be looking to replace this as part of phase 2 with 2 individual spotlights. It will also increase the distance when I put on my lights at night time. It'll just give me that extra clear visibility, which I think you need. I have noticed with the 2.2 XL, these headlights, even on at full beam, if you suffer a bit of night blindness like I do, it's just not strong enough. And when you've got animals on the road, the better lighting you have, the better for your safety. Underneath the vehicle, I fitted a bash plate, also from Stoffpad 4x4. This just protects it's a sump guard. I would like to get the full undercover protected, especially now that I'm doing this more and more often. But so now that you have an idea of what I've done to the Ford Ranger, I also have some lights fitted on the top, just some 6-up LEDs. I have the snorkel air intake from Iron Man, which just allows for cleaner and better air intake. The practical parts or aspects of this vehicle: tires, suspension, air intake, and obviously the sump guard protector, as well as the box rock sliders. They just save and serve purpose and have practical functionality to them. But let's carry on with the obstacles and we'll chat later. So we've just got to an obstacle and I'm not too sure about it. Now I have done this obstacle before, but what I wanted to show you is the importance of actually physically getting out of your vehicle and actually walking the obstacle before you go ahead and do it. This allows you to choose the line, and it lets you position your vehicle's tires at the highest point so that you prevent any damage underneath the vehicle. So in this instance, I'd walk. And what I want to do is I want to get my left tire to follow this ridge line here, because there's quite a steep drop off there. So if I can get my left tire to follow this here, and my right tire just doesn't hit the main drop off but the edge of the drop off, then I should have a great line to get out of this obstacle. So basically keeping this groove here center of vehicle. It is so important to walk your obstacles first and keep those tires on the highest points you can, that way minimizing damage underneath the vehicle. Let's jump in and let's give this one a go. Alright, so we're in the vehicle. I'm just closing up the windows and obviously putting on my seat belt, just in case things do go wrong, you never know. Alright, another thing I must mention is you must have a spotter at the bottom or above an obstacle. So I'm going to put it into downhill assist. You stop the vehicle, access downhill assist. You'll get a warning sign on your heads up display, and here we go. And you can hear it working already. And the downhill assist is working its magic. And at the bottom here, I just want to slowly turn to try and minimize the grating of the tow hitch. And done. Pretty easy. These vehicles these days make it so easy to go anywhere and do anything really. But you have to keep the basics and do the simples right. If you don't, you can end up in trouble. So that's that. Let's switch off downhill assist, deactivate 4 low because we're going on the road, and put in 4 high. So you see, with downhill assist, the vehicle does all the work, which is an amazing thing, but always remember the basics. Have someone spotting either above or below the obstacle. Make sure you get out of the vehicle. If you're unsure of the obstacle, get out and walk the obstacle. Choose the highest points where your vehicle's tires are going to go over to prevent any undercarriage damage. And then just do it slowly. Take your time. Remember, if it's an obstacle like mud or water, try stay away from water. If you can't walk around the obstacle of water, then do it as a last measure, go through the water. But walk it first so you know the depth of the water and you know exactly what gear to select when going through the obstacle. Another thing to remember is that you will need momentum. Go as fast as you need to go, as you feel comfortable with in order to get through something, and keep those revs up. When coming down an obstacle like this, with the downhill assist, all I do is I just hover my foot over the brake in case something slips and it doesn't work right. But with the Ford Ranger, I have full confidence in the downhill assist. So we come to an end of another exciting episode of 4x4 Ventures. The sun is out and we've decided to call it a wrap. We've had the day out on the track. We had the morning session where I basically introduced you to the episode, and I thought, well, how would I surmise this episode? I thought of doing the 5 likes and 5 dislikes, but if you have no dislikes, then what's the point? You can't really surmise it that way. So if anything, I would just like to say that Mokgatle is a well-rounded and a rather large track to do for a 4x4 and adventuring. So it kind of ties in nicely with the 4x4 Ventures. It's 125 kilometers outside of Johannesburg in the Northwest Province, just about 17 to 25 kilometers outside of Brits. A fantastic place. If anything, if I had to be very critical, if anything, some of the obstacles are not suited to a long wheelbase vehicle. To all our subscribers, thank you very much for all the positive comments and feedback. We really do appreciate it. I hope I've been able to answer a lot of your queries and questions in the last 2 episodes. If not, continue posting questions. I'd love to have a chat. If you like this video, Please, as always, give us a thumbs up, share with friends and family. It's the only way we can get our message out there and keep doing what we love doing, and that's creating content for you guys. Otherwise, keep safe, enjoy your next 4x4 ventures, keep well. We'll see you at the next one. Cheers.